One of Kentucky's bloodiest feuds gave birth to what's become one of Kentucky's finest public universities. Frank Button and his widowed mother, Phoebe, answered the missionary call in mid-1887 to come to the embattled town of Morehead to start a school to bring a light to the mountains, where nearly 24 members of two large families had lost their lives in violence fueled primarily by ignorance and politics. Brother Button wrote that he walked into a gun battle on Main Street on his first day in town, but he and his mother proved equal to the task, and the Morehead Christian Normal School operated from 1887 through 1922. With its private college in a state of financial collapse, the citizens of Morehead turned to the Kentucky General Assembly in 1922 as two new state-funded normal schools were authorized, one in the east and one in the west. Aided by skilled politician Allie Young, supporters of the Morehead location were successful, and the institution reopened in 1923 as a public institution. The original campus, built during the 1920s and 30s, today is a National Historic District. The new public institution grew modestly through the first 2 decades before the onset of World War II depleted its enrollment. Faced with dwindling state funding and tuition revenue, the institution convinced the Navy to locate a training school on the campus, with the government paying most of the college's operating expenses. A Navy installation located 500 miles from the nearest ocean also found success as more than 4,500 shipboard electricians learned their skills while living in college dormitories, eating in the cafeteria, and marching on the football field. Again, Morehead State had survived. The flood of returning veterans and their families and a growing public awareness of the need for higher education swelled the enrollments of Morehead State and hundreds of other public institutions between the late 1940s and late 1960s. In that span, Morehead State evolved from a state teachers' college to a state college to a university. The original mission of teaching teachers expanded into dozens of other academic areas as the curriculum grew to embrace more than 100 degree programs on the associate, bachelor's, and graduate degree levels. It was during this period that MSU began to develop its reputation as one of the best places to prepare for professional school in medicine, dentistry, pharmacy, law, and veterinary science. Combined with its prodigious output of teachers and school administrators, the institution is credited with literally building the middle and upper middle class of East Kentucky. Later, this contribution grew even more with the development of Morehead State's internationally accredited College of Business and the recognition of its world-class programs in communications and visual and performing arts. From its humble beginnings, the institution's close ties to the public schools led to extension classes throughout East Kentucky as teachers and school leaders yearned to improve their skills. When the regional accrediting bodies decided in the late 1960s that all college coursework should carry the same credit regardless of where you take the class, Morehead State seized the opportunity to be Kentucky's pioneer in providing local access to public higher education. High schools, public libraries, and other public buildings were used at first, but the demand for daytime classes resulted in the eventual creation of 5 regional campuses, the most of any public institution in the Commonwealth. Giving access to the place-bound students in East Kentucky also motivated the institution to develop a network of interactive video teaching facilities, and then in 2002 to launch Kentucky's first totally online degree program, the Master of Business Administration. Further evidence of MSU's ongoing commitment to a seamless post-secondary education system includes the location of 3 of our regional campuses at KCTCS institutions and the existence of nearly a dozen articulation agreements for 2+2 degree programs in partnership with KCTCS colleges. MSU also formed the state's first graduate consortium with a private institution, Pikeville College. The emergence of its multimedia communications program was a major factor in the establishment in 1965 of East Kentucky's first public radio station, WMKY Radio in Morehead. Now the flagship of a three-station network stretching from the bluegrass to the mountains, WMKY is a founding member of National Public Radio and has one of its former student staff members, Steve Inskeep, hosting Morning Edition, the most widely heard radio news program in the United States. Other MSU graduates in print and broadcast journalism are fixtures in major media markets in the U.S. The development of professionally accredited programs in art and music was followed by the public recognition and appreciation of traditional art forms related to cultural heritage. The Kentucky Folk Arts Center and the Kentucky Center for Traditional Music are unique to post-secondary education in Kentucky. Through a combination of outreach programs in classical and traditional arts, MSU is touching the lives of thousands of public school students primarily in East Kentucky. In the last year alone, our traveling theater troupe performed in front of more than 32,000 high school, middle school, and elementary students. Sustaining the legacy of Cora Wilson Stewart, the founder of adult education in the United States, has been an MSU tradition for more than 30 years. Until a few years ago, nearly all of the adult educators in Kentucky were trained at Morehead State, with most receiving the state's only master's degree in adult and higher education. Today, MSU is the only post-secondary institution serving as a direct provider of adult education in 2 communities. The institution has preserved a one-room school building used by Ms. Stewart, an MSU alumnus, in which to teach adults to read and write in the early 1900s. Ms. Stewart was serving as a local school superintendent when she created the Moonlight School concept of teaching adults in the same facilities used by their children. Morehead State also operates an adult education academy for literacy training. Spurred by his interest in deep space research and his awareness of a coming manpower shortage in the aerospace industry, a young science professor convinced the leadership of Morehead State University, 2 members of Congress, and several state legislators that MSU could develop and sustain an instructional program in space science. 6 years and about $25 million later, that vision is being realized each day as work continues on a state-of-the-art instructional and research building, and as students and professors at MSU and colleagues at 5 other institutions prepare a satellite for launch next year as part of a NASA mission. Once in orbit, the satellite will be controlled and monitored from MSU's Space Science Center Mission Control Room. Already operational is a space tracking system committed to deep space research and satellite telemetry. Starting with a 2-year nursing program nearly 50 years ago, Morehead State's commitment to human health grew steadily for several years, but has expanded of late with the establishment of nursing degree programs online and in other communities, the hosting of successful University of Kentucky local degree programs for physician's assistants and advanced registered nurse practitioners. But a major breakthrough occurred just a few months ago when MSU, UK, and St. Clair Regional Medical Center began construction of a $30 million facility on the St. Clair campus in Morehead for health education, patient care, and research. Within 2 years, it's expected to become the site of UK's first branch of its medical school to support the Rural Physician Initiative. On-site instruction in pharmacy and other health-related fields are expected to follow. MSU will grow enrollments in its nursing and imaging science programs by moving to the new facility. Equine and other animal sciences have been a priority at MSU since the state's first associate degree program in veterinary technology was nationally accredited here in 1972. The equine industry will be even better served by a new high-tech equine health education center, which was completed last summer. A surgical suite for horses and other large animals is featured. It's said to be comparable to those used by the high-profile vet clinics that serve the thoroughbred industry in central Kentucky. Traditionally, public regional universities have described themselves as teaching institutions where instruction takes precedence over public service and research. Research primarily was limited to graduate students. That model is changing dramatically as MSU and other institutions have realized that highly motivated undergraduate students also are capable of participating in bench or laboratory research and creative productions under the tutelage of senior faculty members. Starting with a financial commitment to undergraduate research fellowships, Morehead State established a molecular biology laboratory this year to serve students and professors in several scientific fields. Research funding breakthroughs are being made with the National Institute of Health and other prestigious agencies and organizations. Significantly, more MSU students are participating in posters at the Capitol, where student research is spotlighted for members of the General Assembly. In the spirit of making better lemonade when life gives you lemons, Morehead State's leadership has turned recent fiscal challenges into creative problem-solving opportunities. With the blessing of the Council on Post-Secondary Education, MSU is the first public university to deploy the per-credit-hour tuition model instead of the traditional flat-rate model. Based on the premise of paying for what you actually consume, the tuition model is designed to be fair to part-time students, make full-time students more accountable for course scheduling, and save money for families by reducing the number of dropped courses and the resulting loss of paid tuition. To avoid penalizing the brightest students who normally have larger course loads, MSU deeply discounts the cost of tuition for classes beyond 12 credits per semester. That feature appears to be unique among institutions using the per-credit-hour model. MSU also is in search of answers to what should an institution be teaching and what should students be studying in the 21st century. All academic programs are being reviewed for enhancement, modification, or termination. General education requirements are being analyzed to make sure our students leave the institution with the skills, attitudes, and knowledge needed for success in today's very different world. With the goal of becoming the best public regional university in the South, MSU has raised admissions requirements and intensified recruitment of top students over the last 4 years. Helped by more attractive financial aid incentives and the presence of about 400 Governor's Scholars each summer, the academic standing of the freshman class has improved each year, and the fall of 2008 produced the highest ever ACT composite average of 21.6. MSU has achieved and maintained a top-tier ranking in the widely used college guide America's Best Colleges, published by U.S. News & World Report. Fall-to-fall retention of first-year students is on the rise, and new programs have been developed to help students who enroll with academic deficiencies. Considering MSU's proud history of reaching out to its service region with instructional programs, it stands to reason that other institutional services have been extended to East Kentucky. We received our largest federal grant in history, $10.1 million over 6 years, to provide another round of Gear Up activities to encourage middle school and high school students to make plans for college. Our East Kentucky Small Business Development Center is helping local entrepreneurs with small business ventures on a daily basis. We've established the Regional Enterprise Center on our West Liberty Regional Campus as a beacon for high-tech business development, including oversight of local innovation centers in West Liberty and Paintsville. Nearly 2,000 public school teachers and staff have benefited from the technology training program we co-sponsor with Kentucky DataSeam and Apple Computers. We've engaged an entire county in an effort to improve the physical health of citizens of all ages through work in the public schools. Armed with new but limited state funding, our Center for Regional Engagement is gearing up to coordinate all of our outreach efforts. Plan your work and work your plan. That simple but weighty phrase captures the ongoing challenge of all who lead public post-secondary education in these uncertain times. Morehead State is committed to the development and execution of strategic plans that impact every aspect of its operations. We inherited a 20-year-old master plan for the development of the Morehead campus. It's been revised several times and will be reviewed in totality to make sure it works with our newly developed plans for housing and athletic facilities. Our business plan is being recalibrated in light of the state's budget circumstances and the realities of today's economy. The next 5-year iteration of our strategic operations plan will reflect what we discover in our academic program audit and the general education review. We're revising our 3-year diversity plan to broaden our definitions and sharpen the focus of what we do to reinforce our common interests. Morehead State, to be the best of the best.